When you come to a single player Carl stream, you're not expecting this man to make fucking sense. This man is completely fucking ignorant, insane, crazy. One could say that somebody let an insane asylum victim out and just simply start talking on the microphone. But you stay anyways. Why? Because you are enter-fucking-tained. There's not a single moment where you don't feel something that might be finger-licking good. Just don't let him find out what your mama's first name is. He will try to fuck her. Single player Carl's, home of the nappiest. This motherfucker crazy.
Guess you wonder where I've been. I searched to find love again. I came back to let you know. Got a thing for you, and I can't let go. I guess you wonder where I've been. 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 Wonder where I've been. Guess you wonder where I've been.
You're listening to 148.8 The Coon.
And now, Carl's words of wisdom.
You know, sometimes y'all just don't need to be talking. Just close your mouth. Just close your mouth.
For those of you that are going through, for those of us that are waiting on His promise, understand God has not forgotten you. When times get tough, you got to look up to heaven and encourage yourself and say, just like an eagle and soar, they shall run, not be weary, shall walk, never faint. Faint not wait on the Lord and be safe. Hold on a little while longer. Here's what you gotta do, just believe. He'll work it out. You anything you must remember. My God is able and He cares for you. Come on, let's go. Let's sing like this. Wait on the Lord, He will come. Wait on the Lord, He will.
Can you feel the spirit? Let me hear you feel it. Go ahead and feel it.
I want to see you praise the Lord. Just like an eagle and soar, they shall run, not be weary, never faint. Faint not, wait on the Lord and be safe. own wings. Eagles that soar. I'm sure that I learned how to wait in the midst of my way. I get a blessing every day.
You're listening to 148.8 Goon. Don't ever let me find you talking shit about your parents. It'll make you appreciate that you still got a daddy. If you ain't got one, don't you worry. I'm gonna be your new stepdad.
Fuck you, YouTube! If you're cool enough to watch a new streamer this week, you're a big enough Chad to watch Single Player Carl. Bad words, Carl's a breakdown. Memes! If you think you'll find a bread tuber at Single Player Carl's, you can kiss my aunt. It's our belief that if you're such a base mother lover, you watch this guy's stream. Guaranteed! If you don't find niggatry cool, you can shove it up your subscribe list. You heard us right. Shove it up your subscribe list. Bring your friends, bring your pets, bring your mom. We'll love your mom. That's right, we'll love your mom. At Single Player Carl's, you'll catch 6 ways a Sunday. Take a hike to Single Player Carl's, home of challenge laughing. That's right, challenge laughing. How does it work? If you can catch Carl being ignorant as fuck and not laugh once, you'll get nothing but shame. Don't wait, don't delay, don't fuck with us or you'll whip your weave off. Only at Single Player Carl's, the only stream that tells you to fuck on. What are you waiting for? Go to Single Player Carl's, New Orleans' snappiest, an exclusive home to the meanest sons of Cajuns in the state of Georgia. Guaranteed!
gonna make it out. Destined Islands with this one. Submit your heart to Dizzy! I know that Kingdom Hearts is funk! We're listening to Radio Carl, 14.48.8 the Coon. That face when Natasha likes switching moves we pulled at the dance club wants to see it again.
You're listening to 148.8 The Coon. And now a word from one of our sponsors. I say, are you tired of having a dinner that is lacking flavor and makes your husband look at you funny? Are you looking for some kind of dinner that is able to serve up a good sense of jazz at the table? Take it from me, James Bartholomew Crow, and my friends call me Jim, and have all regular spice jambalaya, red beans, and rice. Plus, more flavor than the levies. If you want to be able to jazz up your table, choose Jim Crow's tonight.
You're listening to Radio Coon.
I'm over here stroking my... What? I got lotion on my...
Yeah! We make your eardrums bleed.
3 days and I'm coming back. I'm about 4 minutes from a heart attack. 3 days and I'm coming back. I'm about 4 minutes from a heart attack. 3 days and I'm coming back. I'm about 4 minutes from a heart attack. And I think you make me a maniac, but you don't know. 3 days and I'm coming back. I'm about 4 minutes from a heart attack. And I think you make me a maniac, but you don't know. 2 years had me in between, but we both been male since we 17. Here we go. Let's fight in the limousine, but they don't know. And about 3 days and I'm coming back. I'm about 4 minutes from a heart attack. And I think you make me a maniac, but you don't know. 2 years had me in between, but we both been male since we 17. Here we go. Let's fight in the limousine, but they don't know. And about 3 days and I'm coming back. I'm about 4 minutes from a heart attack. 3 days and I'm coming back. I'm about 4 minutes from a heart attack. 3 days and I'm coming back. I'm about 4 minutes from a heart attack. And I think you make me a maniac, but you don't know. You make me a maniac, but you don't. You make me a maniac, but you Been back.
You're listening to 148.8 The Coon, playing the spiciest jazz and the nappiest licks.
I feel safe and sound on solid ground. How can I lay down?
Bezos made a banger.
You're listening to 148.8 The Coon. And now, for a word from our sponsors. Sponsors for Single Player Carl and Radio The Coon are provided by BBC Migraine Powder, Jib and Toby's Ethnic Enrichment Playground, Cringe On Demand, Blockbuster Entertainment, Uncle Tony's Riot Seasoning, Smart Negro Brand Colonized and Sheets Dating App, Immemorial Malt Liquor, and PointDexter.com, and the generous donations and watch times from viewers and haters like you. Thank you! And if you'd like to support Carl, consider leaving a wonderful donation at Ko-fi.com, Subscribestar.com, YouTube.com, and Twitch.com/SinglePlayerCarl. Make sure to support your niggatry today, or you hate black people. How we doing? My voice is powerful. I'm also not trying to kill it because I also have more shit to do tomorrow. That was literally a little bit actually over 25. That was actually probably more like 27. 27 of straight fucking bars! Bars! Which means that is literally the best that I can possibly make and create out of the batch 1 and 2 audio ads for Radio Carl, which means it's time for batch 3. And importantly, and more than other things that it's ready for, it's finally time to end the saga. No more. No more Leadhead after today, for we have truly learned everything it is to truly know what they carved, and it wasn't just some pre-op, post-op surgery for the snip. So on the top of the hour, I would be remiss to remind you to support your Negrohood. Become a member, become a Carlist, choose your denomination of Carl, and become a member ready to defend the faith and the hood of the one true Carl. This cringe has been brought to you sponsored by Horror and Hellfire, twisting my balls into a vice since, at this point, I can't even remember how long. That's how long she's been doing it. Also sponsored by Heat Tap. And brought to you in part by the Op Block, who was the one who brought us the content. And even though he was there with us at the beginning, he could not be able to see it through to us at the end. But that's okay, because I'm still here for you.
And so, without further ado, let us open the book of L's and begin to write down more cringe things that Leadhead wants to tell us. As now, we are at the beginning of the timeline. The videos
You
that
are
came out
eating straight
before
eggs, no
everything else.
bacon. The fuck are you doing?
Thank you, Zesky. The videos that came out before all of the other ones. Everything that provides the context. And after we've gotten what we have from this stream, we will fully understand what made them that fucking horny that they needed to cheat on their girlfriend. Let's get the filter. Chroma keyed. Drag it to the side. No, Johnny, you are not late. And let's queue up. There's new spots. Drag it out. Bring in the bullshit. Undeafen myself from inside of the server. And bring up the first of the last, in order of how they were released on the playlist. Holding hands with a cute girl and overcoming generational trauma. Boom, 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 boom. Everyone inside of the server should be able to see this because everybody inside of the audience can see this. And I believe on top of the other videos that we'll be doing at the end of the month, I have seen a bunch of the submissions people have been putting into Community Group Gaming. We're probably going to end up going with a combination of Expedition 33 plus one of your choices. I'll make the cutoff for that at the exact... I believe this month ends on the 31st. Yes, yo, yes, no, pretty sure it does. Yes, it ends on the 31st. So on Monday, that'll be the exact day, end of content Monday, which basically means end of the day. And the end of the day for me is literally midnight on Monday. So literally the morning of Tuesday. Like before I broadcast. If I broadcast on Tuesday and you have not put it in, I am sorry, it will not be considered. So get those in before anything else happens. I think that's literally the last thing I had to mention. And let us begin. Any special guests for tonight? Unfortunately, no. Not unless Aura wants to come inside. Let us begin.
Those who have been keeping up with my channel over the past year might know that in November, my girlfriend and I lost our apartment and had to move in with my parents. It's been a harrowing experience, to say the least. We've got an extremely small amount of space to call our own, with my computer and hers taking up space in what amounts to about 42 square feet after the bed is accounted for.
And whose fault is that, Leadhead? Because according to your own testimony, that's your fault. You put...
Carl?
Hello?
Hello, Carl. Your stream is dead on Twitch.
Shouldn't be. Interesting.
Yep.
But I'm checking. Hold on. I'm checking it. Because if it died, I didn't kill it. Thank you. Just send me a message on DM next time.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Okay. As I was saying before that, literally by your own testimony, that is your fault, Leadhead. You're the one that decided that it was important, desperately important, that you had to have sex with your roommate because you just couldn't make them stop being upset at the fact that they couldn't just get happy. And you weren't happy with the fact they weren't getting happy fast enough, so you fucked them. That was your fault. No coping, no coating and seething.
Since November, I've been filming these videos in a little storage room completely filled with the assorted junk of a compulsive thrifter. Frankly, it's a miracle I've been able to make my videos look as good as they have when this is what my recording space looks like.
My house is filthy. Look at how bad everything's. Look at my bedroom, guys. Every time I look, it makes me cry. Oh no, no, oh God, I don't like that. I look like it's horrible. I don't really want to make stuff in here, bro. My parents hate me. Parents hate me. Give me money. Give me money. No, stop. No, no. Everyone's bedroom can look different. It's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. No, 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 no. No sympathy bucks for you. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No sympathy bucks for you. You do not deserve sympathy bucks.
The biggest issue, though, is the lack of privacy.
Boo-hoo! You're a grown adult. You want to have privacy like you had before? Try not to cheat on your goddamn girlfriend. / partner / fiance. But see, that doesn't matter anymore because they can just be able to have non-stop transgender polycool sex now.
Sure, I don't really mind sharing close space with my family. These people change my diapers, but...
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You do care. You literally act like your mother's trying to torment you. And I quote... I will transcend the boundaries of motherhood. I will become the overmom. Maybe she thought she was never going to be really happy, raising me framed like she'd be sacrificing her life for my own, and thus it became a personal affirmation. I wanted to keep a tradition of I can watch a movie of my choosing, but I had to stop the movie for the comfort of my children. All I wanted to do was have joy for them to be as committed as I was to making everything function and work. And then I finally understood my mother, and that I wouldn't be able to decide about my family's collective happiness via mental health versus performative family time for my sake. Now I understand why so many women end up on uppers. Is motherhood only thankless sacrifice? You literally cared more about your ability to do shit and actively antagonizing your mother for anything as small as talking to you and understanding you, and you pushing them away. Quote, my mother would call me cuckoo for wanting to eat a big lunch, so now I second guess if I'm allowed to marry a girl from Detroit unless I feel safe. That base level of normalcy conformity is why I'm like this. You literally hate your fucking parents. You hate your mom, you certainly hate your goddamn dad, and every single time you open your mouth about them, you have nothing but antagonization for your mother, and you don't say shit about your father. The only time you mention your father is here in the beginning of your content. Then every single time, further down the pathway of your goddamn work, from here all the way to the next one, which will be the last one of the list, every single one has been you making fun of them. Shut your ass up!
To force my girlfriend into that same proximity with these people who are essentially strangers to her has been a huge mark of shame on myself.
Oh, I had to live at home with my parents that love me, support me, and unlike the child whose I've been grooming, they love and support me, and they let me move into the place. I feel so ashamed. You want to know what would make you feel more shame? After you cheated on your girlfriend and lost your place because you couldn't afford it? If they told you, actually, no, get your ass on the street and go live out there in the trans woods. Slam! That would have probably been more shameful, now wouldn't it? Oh, but you got parents that care about you, that bring you to the goddamn house. And you are the best thing you have to say about them. The best advice that you can give them, the best compliments you can give them is, well, they gave me a place to stay and put me and my girlfriend up that I cheated on with me, but I have no privacy. Sasa la loca.
It's clear that she's never really been comfortable here, and I can't help but feel like I'm the only one who can fix it.
You're the one that broke it, so you better. Guess what? Congratulations. Once again, that's fucking boyfriend slash husbandry slash fatherhood. Or in your case, extended motherhood. You're the man of the relationship. You're the one that wear the pants. The bell-bottom torn pants with extra leggings underneath because you're special. That's what happens. You feel like you have to do something about it because you're the one that caused it. Man up or woman up. Titty up. Truckle up. Oh, the only thing that should be loony is them tunes, boy. The only thing that should be loony is them tunes. The only thing should be loony is them tunes.
I know it isn't my job alone to get us out of this place. I know it isn't my fault that we lost the apartment. At least
the lie detector test has confirmed that that was a lie.
not completely. But for the simple fact that they're my family and not hers, I can't help but feel like I need to shoulder the blame for the whole situation.
Who else is supposed to shoulder the fucking blame? Are you serious? She didn't cheat on her by herself. And she wasn't the one that stuck their princess wand into their roommate. That was you. You did it. You did it. You did it. And it probably didn't last that long. You don't look like you got much endurance. Literally, we're not even, what are we? 1 minute and 28 into the video. And it's just lie after lie after lie after lie after lie after lie after shame post after shame post after shame post after lie after lie after lie after lie. Holy! The framing is the most annoying part. Back to back with this goddamn Minecraft bit. Never once have you stopped trying to be sympathetic, but you just end up being a simp and pathetic.
This headspace is reinforced by the simple fact that my girlfriend isn't exactly going to be the ones getting all of the "when I was your age, I saved half of every paycheck" talks from my parents. All of that falls
And you wouldn't be where you are if you didn't do what you did. Stop coping.
on me here. I'm made to feel like my every decision is being observed disapprovingly. Like,
there are grown adults, they're your parents, they're allowed to judge you. If they're not allowed to judge you, move out of the house. Because unfortunately, you're back there because of your decisions. And even then, you'd still find a way to try and justify how they're not treating you well. Which has been the problem. You've inserted yourself into everyone else's business. And then when it comes to your business, you feel like you have the right to control who gets in and who comes out of your involvement. You feel like inserting yourself you feel like inserting yourself into your partner's troubles, into your sons and daughters' troubles. You feel like inserting yourself into the friend circle's troubles. You feel like you have to be the team mom or the literal motherhood family mom, while also at the same time being the breadwinner breadtuber that is bringing the cash in on Patreon with non-stop subs from your supporters that make these videos and this series of content that you do as a gonzo style video essays possible. But you think that you should have the right to control whether or not your parents learn about your inner life, despite the fact that you had no fucking problem moving out, and then you had to crawl back to moving in. Crawling, by the way, is contextualized by you, meaning that inherently, because you had to go back under any circumstances, let alone these circumstances, again, caused by you, is shameful. It's ridiculous. Stop whining.
there's something wrong with the way that I find happiness, and I've been made to feel like a failure because our landlord decided to raise our rent and we couldn't keep up anymore. And my girlfriend's been made to feel like a stranger and the closest thing to a home that she's got right now. Tack on a couple of expensive car repairs, application fees for other apartments, and debt, and it's been rough. God knows I'm incredibly thankful to have such a reliable safety net with my parents, but...
Oh, I'm so happy, so thankful that Mumsy and Daddy will bail me out of trouble that my dick got me into. I'll antagonize them and say I have no true privacy, that I can't walk around my house naked and sleep naked in my dog bed. But, I'm so happy that I'll have it anyways, despite the fact that I'm not really thankful.
This isn't a situation that any couple could truly feel free in.
Still stuck on it. Still stuck on it.
Just having my computer in our bedroom has been so bad for my creative motivation, although I will say that it's been nice to have a more intimate space for my girlfriend and I to play games together. Eco is a beautiful little game from the creator of Shadow of the Colossus and The Last Guardian, Fumito Ueda, in which a young boy, Eco, and a mysterious girl, Yorda, work together to escape a labyrinthine castle and the generational, societal, and familial trauma that led to their capture there. Over the years, I've tried getting several romantic partners to play through the game with me. It's got a hidden
Why specifically do you need them to play through these games with you?
co-op mode unlocked after beating the game, where the second player can control Yorda. Yorda is very clearly intended to be an NPC. If you're playing in co-op, she has practically zero agency in the gameplay, but it's always struck me as the perfect game for a couple to play together. In theory, I wouldn't mind playing as a character that is essentially just an aesthetic flourish to the puzzle mechanics of the game.
Telling on yourself? Telling on yourself? I've always wanted to have a romantic partner who just sits there in the corner of the room and watches.
As long as I get to watch somebody I care about play through a game that I care about, I'm happy, and getting to be a small part of that experience in-game could only make me happier. However, because all of my exes have been lame as hell, I've never gotten to test this theory. Every time
Mal, none of my partners would let me be able to use them for content, so I'm just gonna whine to you all on this camera about how they wouldn't let me do things like put a yogurt ring on it. If you know, you know.
I've tried, they've all wound up putting the game down after the first 30 minutes or so and just never once giving it a fair shot. But fortunately for me and my overly romanticizing mind, that finally changed. After years of trying, I finally got a partner who can appreciate a slower-paced, more thoughtful game. And as a result, I got a chance to engage with one of my favorite games on a level that I never have before, and I saw a side of the game that I hadn't seen before as a result. So this is Go, holding hands with a cute girl and escaping generational trauma.
How are you escaping generational trauma that you caused like a fucking dumbass?
Eco has 3 main modes of play: puzzles, exploration, and combat. Exploration and puzzles are pretty self-explanatory, but the combat mechanics work a bit differently than most games here. Eco himself, the player, is never the target of the enemies. The Shadow Children only want to capture Yorda. They grab her whenever you let your guard down or are distracted and try to carry her off into these portals. The enemies will attack you, knocking you down for a minute as a way of running interference on you, but they can't kill you directly. The only way to get a game over is to let Yorda be captured, to fall off a cliff, or to get yourself killed in an explosion during a bomb puzzle. This creates this sense of comfort when you're close to Yorda. The closer you are to her, the less likely you are to not be prepared if she gets grabbed. In the same way that, for instance, I feel a lot safer when walking down a sketchy street if I've got my girlfriend with me, the closer you are to Yorda, the less likely you are to get a game over. To that end, we have the mechanic that Eco is probably best known for, the mechanic that immediately connects the player to the abstract relationship between protagonist and sidekick. You can hold R1 to hold Gorda's hand, and lead her around the environment. This works on multiple levels. On one hand, it makes you feel more like a hero, helping this naive and sheltered girl who's seeing the world for the very first time match the urgency of the situation that you're in. That much is obvious, but it also locks in that feeling of safety and security that you get when you're close to Yorda. It's the final piece that makes the combat mechanics make sense thematically. Following the sketchy street analogy, if I'm holding hands with my girlfriend, it's going to be a lot harder for something to take that all-important proximity away from me.
How about a car deciding to drive up on the end of the street? How about a person come up behind you to come steal both of your purses? If not both of them. How about somebody who walks on the wrong side of town who comes up to you and say, "Hey baby, you want to go over and notice bushes?" Things that, by the way, will never fucking happen. Because despite living in Appalachia, they are never going to be confronted like this, despite how much they desperately want it to be.
That's the core appeal of this game. Feeling that strong, abstract, yet intimate connection with an NPC in a story which gives almost no context beyond the two of you were put in cages. Clearly this place is bad news, but at least you've got each other. And, of course, in my case, playing as Yorda, that appeal shifts to, oh, my girlfriend's helping me find my way out of an oppressive household.
How is your household oppressive if they're willing to let you back into the household? Are you implying that they're actually tyrannical because you clearly want them to seem tyrannical to your audience? Because there's nothing tyrannical about your dad trying to understand you and your mom trying to have a moment of fun with you or a moment of care and concern, and you literally go, "Oh, stop hovering around me, Mom."
I'm sure I don't have to push this metaphor any further, but playing through this game, it was hard to not compare that tiny little bedroom, which we've tried so desperately to squeeze 2 whole lives into, to the cages, which Yorda...
Ammo! Living in my parents' house is like being in cages! Ammo! I hate when I have to be the guy on the street that has to make sure that my girlfriend doesn't get hit by a goddamn car or bus or gets assaulted by someone. I just want to be a dumb-headed girl that has her hand held, and I want to be pretty. Every time!
and Eco find themselves in at the start of the game. Shifting focus from the metaphor that's driving the motivation behind this entire video, I should probably talk about what little context we do have for the actual story. At the beginning of the game, Eco's been taken prisoner by the soldiers of his village. It's explained to us that all boys who were, like Eco, born with horns on their head must be sacrificed to the Queen, the game's antagonist, and Eco is put into a pod that presumably kills these horned boys and turns their souls into shadow children that do the Queen's bidding, and who we fight throughout the game. I'll get into the thematic significance of all of that information a little bit later, but by sheer coincidence, Eco's pod falls off of its shelf, and he's able to escape. Exploring the castle, Eco finds Yorda trapped in a different kind of cage, and the two of them nearly make it out when the Queen closes the gate, and Astral projects to explain to Yorda that she shouldn't be running around with a horned boy, and that she'd be better off returning to her cage. As soon as the Queen tells us that Yorda's her daughter, it becomes extremely obvious what this game is going for. This is a story about a girl finally managing to escape an abusive, narcissistic mother. A fantastical metaphor for an extremely grounded, real-world situation. One which I'm sure most of you have seen as many times as I have.
Yes, but here's the problem. It isn't a parable to your life! Narratives are fun. Narratives are cool. Narratives are important. They're important for the context to understand things and to understand other people. That's what writing, what's what fiction, it's what narratives, it's what creative writing is supposed to be capable of doing. However, the unfortunate problem with this parallel is it's fictional. These are fictional characters. They're not a pretty princess dropped in a castle, being terrorized by families and being given interracial, transgender-hated trauma. You are by all admitted counts and full acceptance, a fucking sex freak that couldn't keep it in your pants. And so the clunky and trapped bedroom you have to share at this time in your life with your partner, the one you cheated on, is the result of your choices. So, thematically, just like how you can have a hero's journey where a young boy has to rise to the occasion and fend off the danger to protect the quote princess, you have to overcome your gooning to become capable of being a functioning adult. What was that thing? What was that thing your girlfriend said to you? I know you're puppy-brained. You still know right from wrong. Yeah, you kind of have to man up. Perhaps you're not a person that should be playing video games that involves the hero's journey as the through-line narrative for which it is given as a 3-act structure. Because, you still know right from wrong, Leadhead. You understand what writing tropes are for.
Narcissistic parents trying to control the uncontrollable chaos that is a child's personal development, all for some sort of self-centered motivation, usually math.
A projection, just pure projection, non-stop projection. Probably the most annoying part of projection that you possibly could do, because you're insisting, by implication, of course, because you're not proud enough, you're not brave enough to say it yourself out loud, outright. You're implying that your parents tried to control your development, but aren't you the one that introduced your son and daughter to transgenderism? Aren't you the one that tried to enforce your viewpoint and your hegemony on them, on the family structure and unit? Aren't you just a hypocrite then, by your own standards? Oh, but it's different because you matured and grew into motherhood properly. That's why you decided to take an axe to a literal and fictional tree of your mother's goals and guidance for yourself. Yeah, click on Leadhead, click, I'm gonna be a better mother than my mother ever was. Click, this is me, metaphorically chopping down her motherhood tree. Click. The sheer fucking hubris, the chutzpah, the maxi that takes.
Masked in a veneer of selflessness and family values. Why would you want to spend time with your friends on New Year's Eve? Don't you care about your family? While I've known a lot of people with absolutely horrible parents who've all told the type of stories that make me want to bawl my eyes out, and those stories are not the life that I've been fortunate enough to lead, this is still something that I can relate to on a pretty personal level. While my folks have never really gotten in the way of me exploring myself, there's always been this deep...
So that means literally your parents aren't guilty of the shit that you're talking about, you're projecting shut the fuck up. Literally the next sentence. Man, I've heard stories about these people's parents, but my parents never did that. Shut up, it's not your story to tell. That's another thing that's important. Just because you want to be a storyteller doesn't mean that someone else's life story is your story to tell. You have a bad habit of giving out people's information, despite the fact you really don't need to. You should try leaving it alone.
Deep sense of disapproval, specifically from my mother, as my journey in life takes me further and further from the better homes and gardens, nuclear family values that I've been asked to pretend I've existed in over all these years. It was just little things, like me realizing I was gay, or an atheist, or that I've experienced real mental issues that warranted discussion, and, in general, the gradual radicalization that usually follows all of these things as I grow more and more tired of sentiments like, since you feel like you're gay, and I know you don't believe in God, but you should at least pretend to be thankful for this meal. It's all made it a bit harder for me to feel like my folks have faith in me.
Considering the fact that your parents want to understand you, but you decide to probably reject what they probably believe in, which is, basic family values, a journal sentimentality of religion, and at least attempting to meld with the family unit as best as you can while still being able to express your personality. They're not saying that you can't go out and burn down a store, but they are saying, can you say thank you to your father for putting food on my table? Can't do that. Can't do that. Either you're a tortured, horrible, wretched soul who's being forced with the indignity and the shame to have to move back in with your terroristic parents, or your parents, at the very least, aren't shit human beings.
that leave you out to fend for yourself in these hateful, bigoted, transgender streets in the area of North Carolina, Appalachia country, where you are at risk on the streets in the cold, dead winter of night of having your ass reamed out by the wind to see. It's one or it's the other. Either it's black or it's white. Pick one and only one. You get one sob story. You don't get to use both. You do not get to take over a transgender superposition where nobody can tell what it is that's going on with you, and where you have the most happy life story you could come from and the most terrifying, horrible nightmare scenario in the cookie. You somehow escaped. Fresh and cream. Thank you, Just a Girl. Ugh!
These circumstances I found myself in have never led to any outright fights. Nobody's ever screamed at me for being depressed or told me that I was betraying their love by being an atheist.
Oh wow, they didn't shame you for becoming atheistic or agnostic? Oh, what fucking devils!
Instead, all of these things are just swept under the rug, quietly ignored because they don't line up with the version of my family that gets printed on the Christmas cards, and fighting over them wouldn't exactly be a Hallmark moment either.
Bullshit. Maybe it's more like they're not picking with you and they are literally keeping the peace. So rather than terrorizing you, they don't terrorize you, which somehow is terrorizing you. You just want drama. That's your problem. You just want drama. You just want drama so you can try to monetize it for your audience. This is literally some fucking tsundere shit. This is literally some tsundere shit. It's literally some tsundere shit. You want them to get mad with you for reasons less deserving than the logical breakdown of something comparable to common sense, so that you can have a story to talk about them with. And then instead of appreciating them and what they do for you, you have the insistence and the opportunity to do something more positive than being an annoying asshat about it. But you just keep saying, they don't love you, they don't love you, they don't love you. How can they not love you? They're literally doing any and everything for you, to try and help you, to protect you, to care for you, to give you some level of appreciation and understanding. But you're so fucking concerned about shit that doesn't actually goddamn matter, that you're sitting there coping and seething about it. It's actually ridiculous. That's dumb as fuck. And you're dumb as fuck for thinking that. How the hell are you going to sit there and say, I don't understand how they can appreciate me. I don't understand how they can let me have this and 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 this. Thank you, Carl. I don't understand how you can be able to sit there and actually claim that you're victimized. By what? By who? Who's victimizing you? And why are you self-victimizing yourself when you have nothing to cry about?
A perfect example of this happened recently, as a matter of fact. Last Mother's Day was a horrible day for me. By dinner time, as I was getting home from my errands, I felt like I just didn't have the energy to swallow all of these thoughts that I've been expressing in this video. I didn't have it in me to pretend like I was a normal person for my mother's sake. And I broke down. I had a horrible anxiety attack and wound up crying my eyes out in that bedroom until everyone was about to go to bed.
Do you know what I heard there? What I heard is that you had a feeling, and you somehow put that feeling on your mother. You put anxiety and antagonism on your mother by proxy of existing, which is fucking stupid. And instead of talking to your mother about it, and possibly having an emotional connection to your mother, you decided, I'm just gonna isolate myself inside this house in this room because I don't have the social battery. And then you're making that a fault of your mother. She wasn't even included in your decision. Please express to me what happened next, Leadhead.
I told them all that I was feeling sick and couldn't get out of bed, but everybody heard me crying. Everybody knew that something was seriously wrong. Yet, when I finally left the room, eyes all puffy and bloodshot, and apologized to my mother for having a breakdown on her day, she completely ignored my apology and said that she was sorry I felt so sick. She chose to believe my obvious lie because a stomach bug sounds better over water cooler conversations with coworkers than my daughter has anxiety attacks that completely immobilize her for hours at a time.
I had an anxiety attack, Mom. I'm sorry that I missed out on your day. Don't worry about that, kiddo. Just sit down at the table and eat the food. Oh, my mother did not choose to make her time about me. Oh, I can't believe she just ignored me. Sasuke.
And as a result, my decision to lie and say that I was sick was affirmed as the right decision. Needless to say, thoughts like these always get conjured up when I start thinking about Eco.
I think about how I emotionally manipulate and antagonize my family every single time I play obscure moon logic puzzle video games. Every time I look at a JRPG, I wonder to myself, how can I make my dad feel bad because he never worked on cars with me? Every time I play Princess Peach, I wonder, how can I make my mother miserable that we never baked a cake together? Every time I play Mario and Luigi Super Saga or Brothership, I think, how can I kick both of them in the collective sexual organs and grind it to a paste with stiletto pampered heels with dog ears on the tips? I would be so sad if I had this as a child. I'm so happy that that fucking Zulian loves me. Oh my god. Holy shit. Holy shit.
As I said, a magical queen locking the princess away in a birdcage in their castle is all just a fantastical metaphor for a very real-world situation. And for a lot of people, the birdcage is shaped like a happy little dollhouse with all the windows blacked out. That got a little bit more personal than even I intended for this video.
Bullshit, it did.
Anyway, as we move throughout the game and see Yorda attempting to navigate this world with us, we get to witness what happens when a mother like that gets her way. Yorda is portrayed as incredibly sheltered, even naive about the danger that she's in. She flinches when Ego bangs his weapon against a wall. She hesitates with every movement. She's lethargic in all of her actions when Ego isn't holding her hand and forcing her to run with him. Just the way that she climbs ladders gives you the impression that she's never actually seen one before, and that she's just following Ego's lead. She's totally sheltered, absolutely pure of thought, completely untainted by life experience.
Yes, that's called the text, Leadhead. Essays are supposed to be where you tell me about the subtext and what we can take away. You're not helping explain Eco. You're just over-explaining Eco. We can see it with our eyes. That's why it's there. Unfortunately, that's still a fictional fucking character and does not relate to you and your inability to share your emotions with your parents.
All according to her mother's plan for her. So what exactly is the Queen's plan for Yorda? Well, at the end of the game, when we face her head on, she explains it to us. She's gonna die soon, and so she's planned to transfer her mind and soul to Yorda's body. Basically, Yorda is her insurance policy. No matter what happens to her, she's got a daughter that she can live through. I intended to talk about the literal story a little bit more before I got back into the metaphor, but that's all that needs to be said about that. The Queen...
Oh, well, how nice. No need to understand the context of the game, guys. I'm not going to tie it back any way that actually matters to the subject. I just wanted to bitch about my mom. The video! Forget a hug. At this point, you might as well just go to therapy with your mom, just a girl, and just talk about how this transgender, gonzo-styled, video essayist has helped you grow closer to your mother by showing her what it looks like when someone's just that toxic. Might as well. Might as well. If there's one thing positive that comes out of this content, it is each and every one of you being able to have some level of emotional connection to your parents and appreciation of your parents. Myself included. There are times, chat, where I argue back and forth, playfully or seriously, with my mother like a dog, I still try to understand her, and communicate with her, and compromise with her. Leadhead has not only long since given up on that, they are now at the point where they are effectively writing a burn letter every time they make a piece of material so they can complain about their family home structure and act like they are a tortured, wounded child, when the fear fact that they have been raised to this age and have made it to adulthood to monetize these pseudo emotions that they spew in these videos is a clear sign of exactly how protected, sheltered, and unappreciative of the life that they have provided for them and still do provide for them really fucking is. Softer than baby shit, chat. Softer than baby shit. Could not make it in this world whatsoever at all without people that are sympathetic to the transgender movement feeling like they should or outright being told that they should support them because that's solidarity and class consciousness. If you don't give them money, you're doing a heckin' chudism. I understand that the joke is give me money or you hate black people, but that's the joke. You support because you like my content, not like because if you don't, I'm gonna write a burn notice about how Big Dick 67 doesn't like black people. But that might unironically be the goal. I have to agree. I have to agree with Alex. This is the goal. It feels like it's the goal.
Queen is planning to literally transfer her consciousness into Yorda, whereas, metaphorically, all of those narcissistic parents in the world who try so desperately to force a particular set of life experiences and a particular worldview onto their children are just trying to live vicariously through their kids. They're all disappointed with what they've accomplished in life, and so they force their kids to become actors, or musicians, or doctors, or to take over the family business, or to just be even more normal than they were when they were kids. It's this joint motivation between unhealthily living vicariously through a kid that really only has so much to do with you, and wanting to be able to brag to all the other parents about how your kid has perfect attendance, regardless of how sick they were, or how sad they were, or how badly they needed to talk to someone about it.
Now, that's a valid thing to be concerned with. However, do you understand how far out of your way you have to go to frame the narrative of what you claim is important is, to the point where you're not even talking about eco anymore? It's not necessary for me to bitch about my mom, so let me drop the entire fucking point that I was trying to make so I can continue bitching more about my mom. It's so stupid.
Parents like these, well, if they could take over their children's bodies and live through them, they would go for it too, just like the Queen does. And while I've been almost exclusively talking about Yorda through this video, if you think about it, Eco's circumstances have a lot in common with Yorda's. He's the other side of the same generational trauma coin. Eco is what you get when the narcissistic parents don't get to control their kid's entire life. He was born with horns. Immediately, from his first breath, he was living in taboo. He's the gay son in a Bible Belt village. In keeping with all of their backward...
Amau! Give me a second to write this shit.
traditions all stemming from this irrational sense of paranoia and fear of the unique, Eco, like all horned boys, was sacrificed to the Queen. Because he happened to have horns, he's been made to be punished for the sins of his ancestors, the sin of refusing to accept people's differences. Honestly, I should just say it outright. The Queen telling Yorda that she shouldn't be running around with a boy with horns and that she lives in a different world than someone who was born like that reminds me a lot of the general anxiety and distrust that I felt in the air when my mom realized that the girl I'd fallen in love with was from a sketchy-ass part of Detroit. Disgusting, tired perceptions of the world propagated over generations of refusal to challenge one's own biases have led to Eco being punished for something that there's nothing wrong with and that he has no control over.
And now we are deciding to claim that your mother must be a classist because they're interested in the side of town that they happen to walk on the tracks of. Clang, 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 clang. This is yet again another content creator asking you to stop projecting.
Stop projecting. Stop projecting. Stop antagonizing your parents through your fucking problems and stop projecting. Cause I know you didn't talk to your mama about where it came from. Bullshit, 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 bullshit.
Just as my girlfriend has never mugged anybody regardless of her status as a Detroiter, Eco has never made any sort of pact with the devil regardless of his horns. However, over Eco's battle with the Queen, he loses both of his horns from being slammed into the walls of the throne room. Metaphorically, he's finally transcended them, and the stigma that's surrounding him. He'll always be a horned boy, but there was never anything wrong with that to begin with, and now that he's escaped the castle, he's no longer being held back by the needlessly taboo circumstances of his birth. His life will just no longer be defined by the fact that he was born with horns. So, with the Queen's death, the castle crumbles around Eco and Yorda, and they manage to escape by boat and start their new lives, liberated from the oppression of a narcissistic mother who is ready to let her child's entire life be defined by the responsibility of making sure that mom doesn't have to feel bad about all the things that she failed to achieve in life, and liberated from a society that chooses to gauge a young boy's goodness based on completely arbitrary and bigoted prejudices. Where does that leave my girlfriend and I, though? What about our cage? My girlfriend grew up in a horribly oppressive household, and now she's in a new one that kind of oppresses her in some similar ways.
How?
When does our castle crumble around us? When do we get our happy ending?
Fucking how?
Well, I've been living with this girl for over a year and a half, but there's a reason that I chose now for us to play through this game together. It's because shortly after we would finish the game, she and I would be moving out of our cage too. As I write this paragraph, it's late at night and I'm sitting in our brand new home. We signed the lease early.
So you're complaining about nothing then, while at the same time insisting that you're being freed from something. No! Fucking how? You insist that your mother must be a classist. You also insist that your parents both just reject you for how you choose to live and how you choose to live with your alternative lifestyle choice, which we can neither confirm nor deny, because I'm certainly not going to believe you when you say it. And now you're insisting that actually your girlfriend was never truly accepted. They weren't really allowed to be here. They never really accepted you.
Today and just had the power turned on.
You know how that's bullshit? You know how I know that's bullshit? Because you mentioned how your father tried to help and welcome and make eased for others. Your father, as quote grandfather, how they tried to emotionally support them, and it was on behalf of the child that they said, you know, actually I shouldn't put that on him. So
Stale in the cookie.
no matter what,
Fresh and cream.
your daddy still tried to help you and your family unit. And you still didn't appreciate it then either. Because clearly, if they never truly accepted your girlfriend / fiance, they never really accepted your kids. And yet, when your father let you into his place, when he brought you in from Hurricane Helene, no questions asked. Just open door, right? Just open the door to you. It was no problem. All the way back down here. Because you actively bragged that the biological father of your female to male child wanted to allow your dad to comfort them. Your dad puts his comfort and his own mentality for your lifestyle over his personal icks to try and grant some comfort to your children. You actively make fun of it as you call it out more business about your daughter that doesn't belong to you. Quote, my daughter is a digital spook. They were escaping a horrible home life of potential abuse and moved in with us. I'm worried to tell my fake daughter to chill on the technology and that she'll take off to try and use the internet. All of this came from you. So, if you're somehow escaping, as you were sympathy posting for nothing, just to get people to be concerned and send you more money, you understand that that means that not only were they willing to help you, they were willing to help you put up for nothing? A classic Carl statement. I
can feel the slurs giggling inside of me. Truly, just another breadtube Nepo baby. Truthfully, just another YouTube Nepo baby. I need a word that's stronger than anti-nepotism.
There isn't any furniture moved in yet, and I think the AC is busted, but from the minute the lease was signed, I could just feel the color returning to my world. Earlier today, as I was driving around with my girlfriend, the trees just look greener than they ever have, and the sky bluer than it has in months.
I signed my name on a lease so that I could be able to feel like I could be naked in a place and people couldn't antagonize me. I feel alive! Yellows are more yellow, blues are more blue, pinks are more bubblegum pop pink!
The music coming over my stereo sounded clearer and richer. Her hands felt softer, her eyes less clouded. We were free to be ourselves again. It's been a few days now. The AC has been fixed and we've got the place all set up with furniture, and we've quickly adapted to life with a different type of family. A found family. My girlfriend, myself, and a pair of friends. The four of us have helped each other grow in so many real, tangible...
So now it's a pair of friends. First, it became me and my girl and a couple other people. Now it's some friends in a found family. And then it'll become friends with benefits, and then it'll become my gay son and daughter.
Definable ways. We've always had each other's backs. These are people I'd die for, no question. As my girlfriend's gotten more comfortable, away from the all-seeing, all-judging eyes of the strangers that she's been forced to live with in my parents' house, she's already gotten more comfortable talking about her darkest feelings again. She's already gotten more comfortable wearing her old expressive outfits that I've always loved so much and missed so dearly. She doesn't...
What expressive outfits? Because if that's code word for slut attire, well, I don't know how to help you, bro.
Wait until nobody's around to use the kitchen. She doesn't flinch at every little sound around the house. No matter how little I fit in there anymore, I'll always have a home at my parents' house. My girlfriend, however, hasn't had a home since November.
Bullshit. If they're your partner, that means she can be technically part of the family. And therefore, if she's part of the family, why would she feel unwelcome in a home that's open to her too? Despite the fact that they've never met her. Zulian's grandparents are more than happy to allow me to be part of the family. The only one time with one particular tradition is for a particular grandparent who, for them, if it's not blood, it's not family. And yet, I have never felt excluded from any event. I don't feel like I'm being tolerated just because. Because at said family event, where somebody basically brought a date that had no relation to anyone there, they actively were pissed off that that person was brought there because they were breaking family tradition. Yet, somehow to you, you don't feel like family to them. Because family is only about blood relation, and not actual bonds built over time. Because they didn't come out to Mama's coochie, they're not welcome. Is bullshit. And you know it. That shit only works with people who are not capable of coming from family units. And even then, the unorthodox lifestyle that we've all had to live means that is still inherently bullshit. Because you could just talk to them. But you didn't talk to them, now did you? Not once have I ever heard you say, I talked to my dad, I talked to my mom, and we tried to talk about why they feel the way... No, never happened. So, no, stop lying.
She was just surviving, not truly living in a house. But now, once again, we can both share a home. We're around people who we know aren't judging us for our struggles, but for our triumphs. We're free.
How are they ever judging you? You have never showed us an instance of your parents judging you and making you knowingly aware of it. Because even if they were silently judging you, they had the ability to put on good faces around you, do not bring it up, and not to antagonize you about it. And when they did want to talk to you, ask you questions to try to talk to you. And be open enough and expressive enough to tell you what they felt. Rather than just holding their tongue because, well, that's our child, that's our baby boy, or that's our baby girl. We just have to do it. And we know that's not true either, because you had a heart-to-heart with your dad about your gay son and your gay daughter.
And both times, in both instances, he literally just tried to do his best to support you. So even still then, you still lied. You lied in the past, and then you lied in the past, which was disproven by the future. Your own content debunks you.
On the other side of that coin, I've held off on finishing the script for a few days. Partly because of all the work that comes with moving, and partly because I've been stewing in a new, unexpected feeling that deserves to be a part of the story. After just a few days in this place, I'm already finding it easier to let go of some of the anger and frustration and just discomfort that came from living with my blood relatives again.
Why would you have anger and resentment when they literally let you live in your bedroom and have privacy in your bed? I never heard no goddamn mention of, well, even though I was in the house, I was never able to have sex with my girlfriend. Sex that you shouldn't be able to have because you cheated on him. I was never disallowed from having sex with my girlfriend, where we had to be aware of common things happening. They were more than happy to know that you were crying and simply not bring it up, which means they were more than happy to give you personal space.
Whereas before, I would avoid any sort of confrontation I could with them, so as to not feel that same constant sense of judgment, or an appraisal, or to impose that same sense on my girlfriend. Suddenly, I'm looking forward to the family dinners that we're sure to be having. I'm looking forward to them seeing what we've done with this new place. My relationship with them is healing from the strain of having to balance my girlfriend's own discomfort with my parents' constant need for affirmation that I still want to spend time with them. I don't think I'll ever trust my mother's
constant need of affirmation, or them asking, are you sure you want to have time with us? Isn't there something else you'd rather be doing? And you saying, no, I'd rather be here with you, mumsy. Once again, they don't sound like they're being monsters to you. It sounds like every single time they try to have family time with you, you treat them like shit.
There's opinion on my girlfriend because of some very judgmental things she said about her and some very unfounded guilt that she's tried to impose on her. But at the very least, I don't feel like I need to protect her from them anymore. I do love those two, my parents, but if I...
You don't feel like you have to protect her? Sorry, that's not how relationships work. You are the bread maker of the family, which means in terms of the analogy, you're the man of the house. And as the man of the house that is the breadwinner, you're going to always feel like you need to protect people. It's part of that nature that comes with the responsibility. There's no outgrowing that, there's no outliving that. You're stuck with that. So, no, the normal biological imperative to protect the people who you love isn't a problem of your parents. Cope.
I had to choose between putting a strain on my relationship with them and putting strain on my relationship with the love of my life. They're getting the short end of the stick every time. But I think I'm finally past that. Just last night, my girlfriend called my dad for the first time. I was excited to have a triumph in life that mirrored that of Iko and Yorda, and I got that triumph, but what I didn't expect was that my prize would be even greater than theirs. Yorda's mother was beyond rehabilitation, but my girlfriend and I, well, we got our freedom back, we got our comfort back, and we got our self-expression back. And me, once I'd finally moved away from them, out of that home, I got my parents back.
Lol. Now, how do you get your parents back if you never lost them, dipshit? Only one left, chat. There's only one left. For posterity reasons. It's another talking video where they ask and give more updates about their members. We're almost out, chat. We're almost out. One final one, and it's not exactly the shortest one, but it's short, but it's just shorter like the others. Love a video essay. So, what we have learned thus far, now that we've gotten here, we now know for 100% certain that Leadhead is the problem. Leadhead is the problem. Every single emotional connection they could make with someone, they literally put nothing but imposition on everyone else around them. They are always the victim. They are never the problem. Come on, boys. Let's get it done.
You know, there are a lot of topics that I want to make videos about, but I'm too scared to. In my head, certain concepts for videos have titles so blunt that I feel like I've got to make the perfect, most comprehensive video on them imaginable. I just get really nervous that, as a 25-year-old with a limited amount of life experience, I won't be able to capture something as grandiose as... For Valentine's Day this year, I got my girlfriend and I these two bracelets. So long as we both got our phones nearby, we can tap the bracelet and the other person's bracelet will vibrate. It's just a little, I'm thinking of you.
I wonder,
Did you happen to have that on when you were having sex with their roommate when you were cheating on them? And was it tap tap tapping the phone so that every single time it buzzed, it's like, "Aw, they're thinking of me," when really all that was happening was harder, harder, because that would just be comedy. That's just me thinking. Because now we've gotten to the point where we are at the beginning. Oh, I love my girlfriend. I love my girlfriend. I love my girlfriend so much. Oh, I love my wife. Oh, I love my wife. I love my life so much. You know, there's a series of jokes that people usually tell about individuals that say how much they care about their partner. That is supposedly that they are just constantly cheating on them all the time. And as an individual who's had art made of us, or rather of myself, as a part of the content we were making for the Fried Chicanery, with my persona wearing a shirt that says "I love my wife" on it. Shout out to Eltisha, member of the audience who made that image, by the way. It occurs to me that Leadhead is literally, yet again, another kind of person that is that meme that they usually use as a thought-terminating cliche to get people to not think about the actions that they do on a regular basis.
There she is hitting me back right now, actually. This all came as a result of me making her feel like whenever she wasn't at home, I was only thinking about her when I was nervous about something, and not when she was just at work or whatever. I figured with these, she could feel exactly how often I'm thinking of her. So far, it's gone over great as a gift. That right there is exactly what love is all about to me. Finding ways to make each other happy in spite of our flaws.
That's not what that is. That is you trying to find a physical way to shut your girlfriend up. That's not what love's about at all. Whatso-fucking-ever. That's actually an extension of you trying to control your partner. Which, unfortunately, just echoes back to what you actually told us on honesty. That's you trying to control their depression. You only think about me when you're horny. You only think about me when you're sad. You only think about me when you're anxious. No, I'm not. No, I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now. Where's that clip of me? Which one of these is it? Is it this one?
You're listening to 148.8, The Coop.
You're listening to 148.
You're listening to 148. You're listening to 148.8, Coop. You're listening to 1.
Nope, that's one.
You're listening to 148.8.
You're listening to 148.8.
You're listening to one pot swap me with a chick.
Yeah! No, it was this one.
My stroker, I got lotion in the stroker, I'm over the stroker, I got lotion on my.
Yeah! That's what it sounds like every single time that has that conversation with the girlfriend. Nah, baby, I'm right here. I'm right here just jilling off. You know what I'm saying? You can just feel it right now. Every time.
Mistakes in our circumstances. It's buying a treat for somebody even though you really shouldn't be spending the money because you know that their happiness will offset the stress of spending more than you meant to. It's getting about those feelings and feeling even closer than you were before because of it. It's starting to hate yourself because you see just how much better your better half is. Then improving yourself every day so you can try to match their goodness. Beautiful things keep coming from really painful situations. There's this notion that you shouldn't get into a serious relationship until you've worked on yourself a bit. It's a vague line with no clear goal. When have you worked on yourself enough? When are you good enough to...
I'm going to answer that question. We're going to come back to it. But I'm going to let them finish before I pause, Andy.
Try to match their goodness. Beautiful things keep coming from really painful situations. There's this notion that you shouldn't get into a serious relationship until you've worked on yourself a bit. It's a vague line with no clear goal. When have you worked on yourself enough? When are you good enough to love somebody? Well, I used to think that I was there. Obviously, I'm ready for love. I have a promising career, I'm relatively selfless, and I'm able to stay somewhat happy and focused in spite of my depression and anxiety. Clearly, I'm ready, and all of those failed relationships in the past were because they weren't ready. Well, after a little over 13 months of living with the woman I love, the biggest lesson I've learned is that nobody is ever ready. I think in my head, I had a mechanical understanding.
Okay. Let's go to the start of the statement.
Well, I used to think that I was there. Obviously, I'm ready for love. I have a promise. When have you worked on yourself enough? Notion that you shouldn't get into a serious relationship until you've worked on yourself a bit.
You shouldn't be in a certain type of relationship until you know what you're in. It's not you shouldn't be in a relationship until you're ready for love. It should be you should not be ready for a serious commitment if you're not ready for love. When people date, there are people who date to be romantically involved.
They're not dating for love. They're dating to be coupled. Anybody here who's ever heard of the phrase cuffing season knows what I'm talking about. In other words, they don't date to marry, to then be a married couple. They date to be cuffed so that they can feel like they're loved by someone. Which then falls into your next statement.
It's a vague line with no clear goal. When have you worked on yourself enough? When are you good enough to love somebody?
When you have done enough personal work, when you've done enough shadow work, meaning when you've done the emotional boundaries of figuring out how to unpack your baggage, why do you have baggage? When you were wronged, what was it about the wronging that was bad for you? What lessons did you need to learn from that trauma? What lessons did you learn from your baggage? What lessons do you still need to learn, if any, that are stopping you from proceeding with the beginnings of courtship? That's when you know you've done enough. So, let's answer that in fuckboy terms. If you're a fuckboy, why are you a fuckboy? Because you got your heart broken by a person. You were probably the hardest lover that had ever been out there to have done it better than most people. And time after time after time after time after time, you got your shit rocked. Where's that clip of Matthew Lillard? 1 second.
I mean, what, you don't think I...
Let us hear first from William Afton himself. What love?
I mean, what, you don't think I got...
1 second. So, just to take a quick knee and pause for a second, let's hear from William Afton what love is, guys.
Feelings? You don't think I'm sensitive? Let me tell you something. I got more feelings in my left nut than you two schoolgirls put together.
Here we go.
I know what they say about me. I know what they say about guys like me. They say that we're pigs, right? That we're dogs.
In your defense, they don't exclude. I've been married for 5 years, and my wife still says it.
Oh, that's right. They don't exclude. They say all men are pigs. All men are dogs. All men are scum. And they talk their little asses off about what monsters we are. But they don't understand that they're the very ones that created the Frankensteins they abhor.
Frankenstein was a whore?
Leave my wife out of this.
Laugh all you want, but I'm serious. Every womanizer, every player, every guy juggling 3 broads at the same time is only doing so out of fear. Fear of being crushed by a woman. Because one day, back in the day, they weren't a player. They liked one girl. Just one.
And they gave it up to her, didn't
they? And they gave it up to her. That's right. They gave it up to her because they're little romantics back then. And they gave it up to the girl they love. And what happened? They got rocked, or they got crushed, or they got destroyed, they got cheated on, or laughed at, or something. And when they're finished picking up the little pieces of what was once their heart, you know what they said? Every single one of them made a vow.
Never to give it up again.
That's right. Never to give it up again. But now we're talking about the real bastards here, the guys that break hearts occupationally, because believe it or not, originally those cats were the most beautiful and the most romantic of all. And you know what happened? They're the ones that got hurt worst of all.
Because you never get over it.
You know, God, no! You never get over it. Yes, you recover, but you never get over it. And what happened? When they all recovered, you know what they all said? They all said, okay. I see, all right. If that's how it's gonna be, I can play that way too. So you see that we are all responsible for the cycle of the vicious circle.
So you're saying you're afraid?
Absolutely. I ain't never get my heart broken again like I did when I was 16.
Right there. Every single bit of this scene. Because I'm going to explain to you the mechanics of this shit, okay? Matthew Lillard's character in this movie, by the way, it's what love is. Watch it. Matthew Lillard's character is the fuckboy. And his friends, represented by Cuba Gooding Jr., and another actor whose name I cannot remember. These are the homies. This is the guy who's in between relationships, and this is the guy who's married who looks down on his fuckboy friend. The fuckboy, he understands exactly precisely where he is. He knows that he has shit to work on. How does he know? Because the guy who's in the married relationship, he's egging him on to get him to talk for the other guy as a lesson for him. He is a walking, talking, physical manifestation of a lesson. What's the word we're looking for? The cautionary tale. Every single time his character is trying to sit down and it just pours out of him, that's someone who needs to do shadow work. And or needs to go to therapy. And or needs to find another one like the one that broke him. When you are at that level, When you're all in your feelings right here, all this right here, when you're in your feelings and it just pours out of you and pours out of you and pours out of you, that is a sign that you need to do more work. When you are the one that's egging people on, you know, the kind of person Leadhead is, where they feel that you just need to tell the truths in the way that they decided they need to do it, and that they can control every single bit of you, or worse, you think you can control every bit of somebody else, every single little piece of somebody else. That also is not love. It means that you need to go to therapy, because whatever in you feels that you have to cantankerously try to control every single vector, nitpick every single interaction that you're with, that's also not love. Because love is patient. Love waits. It's kind. But it can wait just long enough to give a push. Reminding you that while you can claim that there's never such a thing as being prepared, actually there is. It's knowing how to notice the things in them that you need to help them with so that they can be able to understand that they're appreciated. Ironically enough, we have an example of exactly this. Remember, I know you're puppy braided, but you still know right from wrong. That was the fiance telling Leadhead themselves. I understand that you just want to have an empty brain and be a little coomer and be a nice little soft bottom girl that gets naked randomly in a pet bed and feels like they don't have to put on any kind of exertion with the problems they have to deal with. None of the qualities, just brain done. Moving and looking at squirrels. You just want to be able to give yourself opinions about your emotions and how you should feel them, but you kind of still have to do your job. Love is able to tell you that you should work to help another person. Love is you being able to make time not just for yourself but for your partner. And when you know that you've made promises that you haven't kept in a while, trying to do your best to be special for them. Love is the small moments where even though things aren't going the way you planned it, you still just go with the flow. And you compromise. And you adapt on the fly. And you say, man, I thank God that I can have this. Or you think whatever you have to. I don't care if you thank Krishna. I don't care if you thank Kefka. I don't care if you have to thank fucking Sans Undertale. I don't care what the fuck you praying to. Even if it is supposedly a black Jesus. You better pray to something in the God-shaped hole in you. That's what love is. Because when they're going on like this, you know the fuckboy's been getting it the rawest and roughest. And I'm not talking about pegging. Because the kind of anger, the kind of resentment, it's resentment technically, the kind of resentment that is formulated when you've been wronged like this, that you have to explain, listen, the reason that I'm not with them is because I know what it is. To the point where if they're gay, oh no, I can never be friends with a woman. Because, man, I love men, but I hate women. You know how I know? Because I understand women. And who hates women more than other women? Who hates women more than men? Other women. That kind of anxiety and antagonism, while it's a healthy experience that you're going to have to go through, there's a point where you can't have resentment forever against the opposite or even same sex. That's what makes shooters, killers, ne'er-do-wells, vagabonds, layabouts, and most importantly, incels. When you have so much built-up anger and resentment to society that you decide that you should just be a menace to society because of it, that's where that excuse comes from. Because if you love yourself enough, you don't hold on to that forever as a reason to never become better. And if you really want to talk about what love is usually somebody seeing through the problems you have as a part of that understanding, and is you being told by said person, even if it's someone who you're not romantically involved in, someone appreciating you enough to help you through your problems and help you fix shit about yourself. Nowhere in any of the things that Leadhead just said did they give anything close to my breakdown or an example of what Lilith's character is doing in this film. Let alone the fact that the actual point at the end of this film is that this character does in fact find somebody for him. This is him as he's going through it. Anyone else that's seen any kind of piece of material in the medium understands this as well, too. Because this is effectively the character of Barney Stinson as well. A womanizing man played by a gay man. A person who just simply doesn't care until he finally brings himself to care. And somehow, Leadhead, the individual who cheats on their girlfriend, is gonna lecture us about relationship advice. We ain't going out like that. Not in my house. Not on my Christian Carl Living live stream. So now let's get back into the love video and let's answer the rest of the question.
Well, I used to think that I was there. Obviously, I'm ready for love. I have a promising career, I'm relatively selfless, and I'm able to stay somewhat happy and focused in spite of my depression and anxiety.
So none of that are the qualifications for what love is. Love doesn't care if you're broke or poor. Love will find your ass wherever the fuck you are.
Clearly, I'm ready, and all of those failed relationships in the past were because they weren't ready.
No, most of those failed relationships in the past that happened was because one or more than one quality about you and your partner was in conflict, where the two of you could not harmonize with each other and be on the same page. By all means, a healthy relationship requires compatibility, and that's a two-way street. And I'm not talking about sexual compatibility with the carnal pleasure. You cannot call yourself selfless, because you're not selfless. You do everything in service to other people. I'm almost certain that you're a praise kinker. You specifically want to be praised for the work you're doing. Let's play that again. Make sure I didn't mishear you.
Good enough to love somebody. Well, I used to think that I was there. Obviously, I'm ready for love. I have a promising career, I'm relatively selfless, and I'm able to stay somewhat happy and focused in spite of my depression and anxiety. Clearly, I'm ready, and all of those failed relationships in the past were because they weren't ready. Well, after a little over 13 months of living with the woman I love, the biggest lesson I've learned is that nobody is ever ready. I think...
Well, that's incorrect, too. Because you do, in fact, know when you are ready. You do, in fact, know when you're ready to love. Do you know how you know? Because you're going to find out in the middle of it. You're going to feel that you don't have to try, that you don't have to put in effort, that you don't have to work. You're going to be able to communicate to your partner about shit that annoys you or things that pessimize you. You're going to learn to have effective communication methods, that you're going to chat with them, that you're going to try to have parallel play with them, that you're going to be able to not only relax around them, but also relax around their friends. Which is how we know that you are not telling the truth about your girlfriend, because you and your girlfriend, at the time, fiance now, were able to move back in with your parents after you cheated on her, and they literally let you have what you've always wanted. At the very least in the relationship, if there's someone who's sacrificing things for love, it ain't you! It's your girlfriend! And one of the few things that they asked for to litigate that emotional security was that they asked you for the hall pass. To be the first one that would have sex outside the relationship. In the thing that they were thinking about, that they wanted to be involved with. No, Yen, I have not seen or heard about Enya Dream Barbecue, if it exists, as I'm in the middle of content. Please write a Printing Press Express post about it. You have never been able to explain in any sense of capacity, Leadhead, through all of the content that you are involved in, with the people that you get down and dirty with, that you actually care about your partner through the things that you are willing to do for them. Because every single time in context to anything you got involved with, you only came clean as a way to make yourself feel better. You never came clean and admitted what you did because you were doing it for them. Never did you center your partner in your decisions. It was always a cause and effect that was to the means of an end, not the ends to a mean. You only came clean about you cheating on them because you couldn't deal with the guilt anymore. And the Band-Aid had been ripped off for you by the partner you cheated with. You never tried to help your partner become better ingrained into your family unit because you and them never collectively talked with your parents. The only time you really talked to them was after Helene. before then, which that last video came before, you never had a conversation with them. Certainly not with your mama, and barely with your daddy. Your partner did everything to sacrifice for you. They took you back after you cheated on them. They took you back after making rules about how you would have an open relationship. They took you back after you decided to fuck around with friends with benefits and make them into your found family children. They've done everything for you. You ain't done shit for them. Not a damn thing.
In my head, I had a mechanical understanding of the idea that no person is an island and that you can't truly grow without another person in your life. But I don't think I really had an intuitive understanding of those ideas until about 6 months ago when my girlfriend and I worked through a rough patch that I was so sure that I never could have been capable of creating.
I don't even care what the fuck you're about to say. The fact of the matter is that no man is an island means that you can't go alone by yourself 100% of the time, always, and have a truly mature and happy relationship to other people and yourself. That doesn't mean that you have to be in a romantic relationship with another man or a woman. It means that you have to be able to have familial ties and friendship ties. You can have a friend. You can have a best friend. You can have a male and female best friend. But you can't be by yourself, because then you don't properly adjust. And by properly adjust, I mean, you'll take people and their actions and their motives for granted. You won't appreciate them. Welcome, Bogdan. I was waiting to see when you come in.
Problems that I didn't think I could possibly have. I'm being vague right now because you and Ivy are not in love.
No, you're being vague because you're vague posting because you don't understand love, so you're using the word to try and define it. In, again, putting your business out on the internet and putting other business involving you and your partner out on the internet. To sympathy post. To get clicks.
See, it's kind of tricky. To get a girlfriend or boyfriend or partner or whatever, you have to have a pretty strong self-esteem. Maybe even a slightly inflated...
No, you don't. To get a boyfriend or girlfriend, you just have to be willing to lie. And put up with them. Put on a fake face. But anything you do with that persona is not love. Because they're not really loving you, they're loving the version of you that you put on for them.
Ego. You have to be able to talk to them about how sexy you are. You have to believe in your heart that you're sexy enough to have it be a good thing when you call them sexy.
No, you don't. You just have to be decently honest whenever they truly ask you to have a moment of actual compatibility and maturity. You have to be capable of saying things honestly and truthfully, and knowing that they are true because you know for a fact you're not lying to them. That you're being mature and you're actually having a moment of true intimacy. Because intimacy isn't just sex. It is the ability to talk to someone without fluff. If you have to be on for your friends, your family, and your partner, you're not being yourself.
You have to see yourself as worthy or you'll never get past the 3rd DM.
That's also not true. You just have to have confidence and show that actually I'm not hung on to every single word, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that I'm disinterested. These are things that are necessary in this world, because unfortunately, the dating market, based on how it currently behaves right now, is people basically playing around with the concept of wanting the other person to commit first, so that they can always say, oh, he really loves me, he loves me so much, I can get away with anything I want. Or... nigga, she's so in love with this big male, bruh. She riding my pole so goddamn much. I could fuck around and have multiple girls on a roster, and she only cares if I come and eat fucking dinner on her couch. Effectively, men and women want men and women that yearn, but they don't really appreciate the yearning and the longing and the pining. They just want to know that they have somebody waiting at home so that they can say, yeah, I'm attractive. I pulled me one. That's how I know I could get some. So, what was that analogy? Men are fishing when women are selling themselves. And these men that sport fish are bragging about the fact that they can pull women as a way to boost their confidence. Whereas women, even in relationships, are seeing if they can be able to hypergamy and monkey branch to another woman or another guy to improve their life condition. If they're doing that, and they're behaving like that, then they're not truly understanding what love is. They're just comfortable. They're the kind of comfortable where they aren't testing the waters of their relationship. And mind you, when I say testing the waters, I don't mean shit test your partner to see if they're willing to debase themselves for you. It means testing the waters of your relationship to see if they're willing to reciprocate what you're willing to do for them. If you're always giving and they're never giving back, that's unhealthy. If you're always taking and they let you take from them and say, no, baby, it's okay. You can do whatever you want. I'll always help. That's also unhealthy. Because if you're healthy, you'll tell them, nope, no, put your pants back on. I don't want it. I just wanted to know if you were willing to do it. Because sometimes that is the only thing they need to see and hear. Sometimes, no, you don't need to give them wham bam, thank you ma'am sex. Sometimes you could go a little slower and then kiss their forehead. The whole trend of men wanting to go after hags, do you know what that's a result of? That's a result of younger men being in relationship with older women. Because you know what older women have? Patience. Because they know that it takes time for men to understand things and to get them to understand their routines. To get them to be considerate and thoughtful. Things that they would have already taught an older man in their life, that if they decided to fuck around with a younger man, they're able to train them. And you know how I know that that's why that happens? Because how many times have you ever heard a woman brag about the fact that they trained their boyfriend to their liking? With their pertinent level of understanding, or the things that they would like to see them do, that they want to appreciate the fact that they've learned how to do as a part of that training. Or the never-ending TikTok post of women going out, and when a man does something that a man who's only been in a relationship would know how to do, saying, who trained him? Sir, where did you learn that from? Any person who does shit like that, they don't really want love. They just want attention and affection unto something similar as a pet. Male or female. On that Omni-Man Debbie timing.
However, there's this moment about, say, a month or two into any relationship where suddenly you need to change out that ego for some pretty intense humility. As far as I'm concerned, the minute that you stop posturing and start talking about all the ways that you aren't good enough is the minute the relationship becomes serious. I'd go so far as to say that this is the most consistent example of my little definition of love earlier.
That is probably the closest that you have ever gotten in any of your content to actually admitting what love is. And you have probably stumbled into it on accident.
The humility thing works out and leads to positive emotions, and you've made beautiful things come out of painful situations. And
yeah, but you have definitely never done that in your content. Every single time with the material that you say that you claim as a part of your work, Leadhead, every single action that you made was out of a self-serving interest to yourself and your ego and preserving it, including the part where you tried to withhold information about your girlfriend and how you cheated on them. You had to be outed by the other partner who was clearly jealous of you and your girlfriend to tell them the honest truth about how you cheated.
And you're experiencing love. So why is feeling like you aren't good enough a good thing? Well, it's the same reason that I got her and I these bracelets.
Because it makes you have some self-respect. It's not that you need to raise your self-esteem. It makes you learn to have self-respect. Because when you start having self-respect about the things that you're not willing to tolerate, you are able to set boundaries on the things that you will tolerate.
We vent out frustrations at each other, and we vent out our insecurities to each other, then we cross-check those little lists against each other and figure out which things we should try to work on and make each other feel better about the things that don't really matter. I would constantly apologize for letting her be bored while I focused on video editing. She would constantly apologize for saying, I love you too often. Then, once we started talking about things that were actually problematic and that we actually needed to work on, it became so much easier to not beat ourselves up over the things that needed no apology at all. In other words, that humility phase of our love led to both of us shedding some of our insecurities and getting ourselves solid, tangible goals we could work towards that would make us better partners and better people.
More importantly, love is not a checklist that you check off before you do an action in a video game. It is not a checklist of quest flags and emotional flags that have to be triggered to get the proper good ending that you want in a relationship quandary. It is not a love novel. It is not a visual novel. You do not need to save scum in order to get your partner to understand how you like it, or where you want it, or how you want them to talk to you. You just talk to them. There's one thing that leftists do. It's never shutting the fuck up talking. But unfortunately, as they also misconstrue their politics, you confuse talking with real communication.
I came into this relationship thinking, oh yeah, I know what love is, and I'm totally ready for it. Now, over a year in, it feels more like, I don't know exactly what love is, but I'm learning more and more every day. I'm probably not ready for it, but I'm getting more worthy of it every day. It's a perspective shift that was pretty difficult to wrap my head around. I've had a few long relationships before, longer than this one even, but this is the first time in my life that I felt like I was genuinely growing alongside someone else. I'd say to my exes, oh yeah, we're totally gonna get married someday, but every single time in the back of my mind, I didn't really believe it. This time, I do. I fully intend to and fully believe that I will spend my life with this person. And that means that suddenly, these little problems that I have as a person are going to be following me for the rest of my life. My own flaws could very well define the rest of my life if I don't handle them as quickly and accurately as I can right now. That, right there, is some serious motivation to grow and change as a person. Ironically, it seems to me that the one qualifier of whether or not you're ready for a serious relationship, or if you need to work on yourself first, is if you're willing to admit that you'll never be truly ready.
Yeah, because love is not a goal. It's never a destination. It is a lifelong journey. Because loving a person first has to start with liking a person. Because, unfortunately, love endures. Love is an endurement. It is the things that you're willing to deal with and work through. Because if love begins and ends based on whether or not a person does something you like, then you don't actually love them. Because unrequited love doesn't exist. And requited love doesn't exist either. In the sense that if you have to put an operating word in front of it, it's not that thing. So in other words, blind justice is not real. It's just justice. Justice by nature is blind because it's fair. It takes no sides. There is what is true and there is what is false. And trying to justify what you're claiming as love is inherently not love. Or rather, it's love asterisk. It's not truly love, it's a certain type of love. It's how you choose to define love within your frequency and within your operating capacity. Because real love is willing to bend and break for a lot of things, but it's within reason. Again, it's about the things that you're willing to tolerate and the things that you're not willing to tolerate. If, for example, you tell me that love is watching your hot wife just cheat on you constantly, no, you're a cuckold. You're a cuckold. And if the entire reason that they say, as is your case, Leadhead, I don't truly feel loved unless I'm being hypersexual to everyone, and I get to follow that freedom wherever it goes. By your own logic, Leadhead, I could argue that you will never truly feel loved unless you make a cuckold out of your partner. And the way that your girlfriend, your fiance, made the standard of how you could get back together in your relationship is that they needed to have the ability to step out of your relationship to have sex with random strangers, or really technically people who you are aware of, is a sign of this is what they have to do in order to have a functional relationship with you. And this is how they have to compartmentalize their feelings in order to achieve that outcome and that goal. That their form of love to you is allowing you to make them feel like nothing and them also do the same thing back. Which, I'm sorry, if that's love, you have a fucked up relationship that is based on boundaries that aren't truly love. Which, you know, you're going to have to live with that for the rest of your life. But that's not consequences for me. That's consequences for the children and any actual biological children that you make with a person who has a womb. But no, love is something that endures, where you're willing to bend and move with the things that happen because that's just what's happening. So, for all those parents that were high school sweethearts, and then the moment they had sex for the first time within the confines of marriage and in the pro bono missionary position for the purposes of contraceptive relationship and procreation, and it's like the first instance that they even touched a penis, they got pregnant. They were just having a baby. When they found out that their partner got shit canned from a job because they got fucked over, well, we're just gonna have to pull the load because that's what we gotta do. It's never a question of the marriage is over because you've ran out of money. It's, okay, you lost your job, I'm going to roll my sleeves up and we're going to figure out how we're going to do this. And it's also, Harold, you've been out of a job for 6 months. When are you going to get re-employed?
It's not just rolling with the punches. It's knowing what the other person is capable of and reminding them of who the fuck they are. Not letting them self-destruct and self-sabotage. It's not just understanding what the standards are and not just raising the standards, but keeping them to their personal standards. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some chud. There's no way that I could be able to have a relationship, right, chat?
Willing to admit that even though you were perfectly happy being single, you have a lot of growing to do, and odds are you'll always have a lot of growing to do. That growth, that painful acknowledgement of your own shortcomings and eventual triumph over them, is love. So that was an example of an amazing, beautiful, magical relationship. The kind where you sit there and try to think about a future where you aren't together and can't come up with any reason that could possibly happen other than an untimely death. Let's talk about a less than healthy relationship. Let's talk about what happens when you aren't willing to grow. To any of my exes watching this, I'm going to be bunching you all up together so as to not single out any individual person. Most of you guys kind of sucked, but...
Literally putting your exes out there on the spot. Literally antagonizing them as much as possible. Literally just doing it for content. You are a horrible person. You have not grown. If you were a grown person, you would not need to put your exes on the spot.
Hey, I suck too. So, for just about everyone I've ever called my boyfriend or girlfriend, sorry, everyone else I've only ever dated boys and girls, there's been this big issue where I always did super well in the flirting phase and the honeymoon phase, where the only real goal is to keep your confidence up while you learn more and more about the other person. And then, once we hit the phase where I was supposed to start getting humble, I'd kind of start to fall apart. Now, I think I've got a fairly healthy amount of humility now, but for a long time I did have a bit of a...
No, the fuck you don't.
God complex. I'll still get dysmorphic about my body and body image issues in general and all that, but never once did I consider myself to be the problem with a relationship. Looking back on all these failed romances I've accumulated, though, more often than not, I was a huge part of the problem. I'd be caught up in my own head, thinking about what I wanted to say next rather than really listening to them. I'd be super affectionate, thoughtful, and forgiving, but then think that stuff excused me from not taking much interest in their hobbies or passions. I'd get on their asses about all sorts of little things that were driving me crazy, mostly just beating around the bush, only addressing the tip of the iceberg, all without talking to them about why certain things drove me crazy.
Yeah, so you're a headpecker. And congratulations. You have just expressed the reason why I know that you're lying about yourself talking to your parents about how you feel in the family household. That's how I know that you're lying to me. Because if you were truly healed, you would already know this. Because that's part of shadow work. Communication, baby. Communication.
This mindset led to years of relationship dynamics where I'd be telling myself over and over again in my head that I can't stand this person, but rather than having actual discussion about these feelings in our future, I just give them head, tell them I love them, and we'd go to sleep without a single issue resolved, because I was too much of a coward to stand my ground on the things that I knew in the back of my mind would ultimately kill our relationship. A whole lot of people got dumped by me without ever really knowing what they did wrong. I kept on saying, God, why do all these people never work on themselves? Am I the only person on this earth with any initiative? But what I didn't really understand was that I wasn't giving any of them the space to grow. As affectionate as I've always been, it wasn't until my girl came along that I learned to become loving. So if you've ever been dating me and I suddenly got all quiet and went out for a drive and you didn't know what you did wrong or how you could make it better, sorry. Well, yes, a lot of you guys have been insanely bad at picking up on social cues. At the end of the day, I was just expecting you to be able to read my mind.
Literally, one of the few things that you've gotten right, and then you demonstrate exactly the fucking point that you shouldn't be talking about. You guys, you didn't pick up on social cues, but, you know, it's also my fault because I didn't communicate for myself. I cannot say loud enough, and I'm not blowing my voice out for it either. You can't give advice. You can't give advice because you're guilty of the things you're trying to give advice for. Does that mean you need to be perfect in order to be able to give advice about shit? No. But it does mean I'm not going to trust what you say when your entire imperative about the advice you give is to frame how you're a person people should trust, and you just go on to show why you shouldn't be trusted. Also, I'll take the preliminary. Carl was right for $1,000, Trebek.
Mind, and that was unreasonable as hell. Ultimately, all it ever did was lead to both of us deciding that it wasn't worth talking about our relationship problems. We started foregoing the arguments and the tears and going straight to the head and the I love yous and the sleep. And eventually we got to the point where we each became so cynical of the relationship that we just quit talking about our feelings whatsoever, and I dumped you. You know, funnily enough, I've been dumped exactly twice. Once when I was 12 and again when I was 16 when my boyfriend got abusive at a party and then disappeared, never hitting me up again. Every other relationship, I was the one to call it off. Over and over again, I expected people to just fix the things that were bothering me, and I always thought that it was 100% on them to do it alone. And every single one of my previous relationships, I've caught myself saying, yeah, clearly you aren't worth my time. When, in reality, I never truly let somebody in until her. Whatever random things we were doing with our bodies, I never...
So, again, you're the problem. And you are a horrible individual. Great! Crazy! I wonder why you became transgender. Certainly your personality type had nothing to do with it, right? Carl said, pensively.
Once let somebody really interact with my mind. Sure, we'd have tons of cool philosophical discussions and all that. I'd share my ideas and interests with them, but I'd never, ever let them hear how I actually felt about them, the good and the bad. Basically, from the outside looking in, I've always just been the cool girlfriend who always run up and hug you and buy you treats and gifts and get really excited when I see you and rub you back after work. But from the inside of the relationships, it's pretty clear that I've been toxic as fuck to a lot of my partners. In some really subtle psychological ways, too. The type of stuff that just makes you feel like there's just something wrong with you and you don't know what to do about it. See, I knew that this was going to be one of those videos where I basically just come to terms with stuff and have revelations about my life live on camera, or at least as I write the script, but this really isn't the conclusion I expected to end up at. That said, it's hard for me to see another perspective on myself, or at least how I used to be, besides what I just wrote. Truth be told, that's how things were going with my girl, too, at the start of our relationship. There was so much good. It was so easy to connect with her about so many different things. She was the first person I dated in years who I thought was genuinely interesting, who I thought could genuinely teach me stuff about the world. But past a certain point, I just started to shut her out a bit.
So the only reason why your girlfriend became girlfriend before you cheated on them was because they made you feel something? You allowed yourself to be mothered and doted and parented so that you could decide, maybe she has something going on in her inner world that I want to know about? Crazy.
To build up my walls again, where I'm constantly in a bad mood and want to tell her why. She was the first person who was ever able to help me get past that. It took a lot of time and a lot of trust and a lot of fear even, but we got to the point where there aren't any little white lies anymore.
So that means your girlfriend loves you more than you love her. Got it. We knew that already, though.
That's something that upsets me. I let her know and we talk about it and we both learn a bit about ourselves and each other and we grow. And the same goes for her, by the way. I don't want it to sound like I'm just constantly judging people. I make plenty of mistakes, both big and small, but because of this mutual respect we have for each other, it's never the end of the world. Basically, we work it out, we communicate. It's hokey to say, but her breaking down my walls and getting me to finally let another person in, well, that's kind of just the power of love.
Never say breaking down your walls again.
I'm a better person now because of it. So this is all just what it means to be in love, from my perspective. Let's talk about how it feels to be in love. I like to give every video I do a happy ending if I can, and there's just nothing in the world that can make me happier than this topic. I'll tell you what though, tomorrow's Valentine's Day, at the time of writing anyway, and I'm gonna go be madly in love for a bit, and then I'll come back and tell you all how it felt. Well, it's as fresh in my mind as I could possibly have it. I'll see you all tomorrow. That was a really amazing day. Nobody could ever make me as happy as she does. It's just so obvious. Although, my saying that does betray this weird sense of fatalism that I've had ever since last Valentine's Day when I realized that she was the one. It's a little surreal to feel so confidently in my heart that every single thing I say to this person or do around them will maintain a certain relevancy for the rest of my life. It's a little scary sometimes. Like, say I were to get really angry and say something that I didn't mean. That would just always be there forever. I've never had that feeling before because I knew in all my previous relationships that things would fall apart eventually. That commitment is horrifying. I know I'd pass out right on the spot if she were to propose to me, even though I'm probably ready to say yes. But that's just one side of the coin. Truth be told, it's not exactly a scariness that keeps me up at night. More than anything, the permanent relevancy of our time together is something I really, really enjoy. All those sweet moments I created with my exes have just lost all their meaning in light of this. Now I know that I'm really building something here. Every time I crawl into bed with her or scratch her back or give her a big hug, I know that I'm building memories that I'm always going to look back on with a smile. It's not like all those other relationships where I look back on our time together with a mix of melancholy, embarrassment, and regret. It's nothing but love that I feel. I'm somebody who's always really shied away from commitment. The whole premise of my old Cruelty Squad video was that the future starts to look very grim from the moment you start getting a clear idea of what's waiting within it. Frankly,
bullshit. Just more diarrhea. Just pouring it in.
I still hold that view about a lot of things. If I found out that I was going to be a YouTuber for the rest of my life until I retire, I'd probably start to hate YouTube pretty quick. Not knowing when or if I'm going to have a different career is what keeps life interesting for me. But I don't feel that way about her, because every single day she teaches me something new about love. And just...
Any person who just allowed that to pass by, I feel so sorry for the fact that you missed it. You didn't have to go to work soon for a while, but you're glad that you caught it. You watched soon the series, giving you a lot to think about yourself. All by all means. She just admitted that she hates YouTube and putting these videos together. Which probably means all of this, all of the too much detailed TMI shit, is a way to make it interesting for them. By trying to use it as a form of pseudotherapy. But they're not getting the lesson away from the content that they should be for posting it the way that they do.
Life. The feelings that I have grow exponentially forever. I have no idea what this relationship's going to look like in 1 year or in 20 years because I simply can't imagine the links that we'll be able to take our love to in that time. We'll have discussed more of our deepest feelings. We'll have seen each other in more and more headspaces. We'll understand each other even better. Whatever I'm feeling now, which I'm feeling strongly enough to write a whole video about it, I'll probably be feeling 20 times as strongly down the road. And that is the unknown. That's the excitement for me in my life. I'm somebody who gets bored very easily. Familiarity has quickly bred contempt in so many different facets of my life over the years.
We can tell.
I fear so deeply for the day when most of my passions have been eroded by that familiarity. But no matter how many times I go over it in my head, no matter how rationally I try to think about it, I know that this love I feel will only ever get stronger. Until the moment.
How strong was it when you put in the tip?
I leave this world. And so as long as I'm loving Charlotte, I've got something to look forward to. Thanks for watching. put out there videos like this that I just really want to make.
Alright. As the banger, as we leave this series, we got one last fucking re-apt part to listen to.
Thanks to my patrons, especially those who donate $10 or more monthly. You're the reason that I get to do sort of weird out there videos like this that I just really want to make. Those patrons are Bree, Messina, Mia Starlight, Stephanie Starfire, Pumpkin, David Bro, Alex, Isa, One-Eyed Willie, Maddie Doman, Denise, You Will Win the Battle You Tell No One About, Miss Lavender.
So it's just more shit, more talking.
It was dead simple with like almost no editing to do at all, so I really feel bad about that. It was just a whole... What's that word you said yesterday that I was impressed by? It was a whole cornucopia of problems, and I'm not really going to get into it. I'll probably post about it somewhere, and you can check my socials to see it, but yeah, it really sucked putting this together. I'll have something more produced and hopefully put together more efficiently in the future. I've kind of reworked my editing process into something much more standardized and hopefully logical, so we'll see if I can work more efficiently in the future. Thank you. Have a great week.
So, let's put it all together, chat. Let's give C.R. Smith a way to understand what they just walked into. So, here is the rub as I go and get my Detective Conan investigation music. Where is it? Actually, no. Let's go with Ace Attorney. Alright, boys and girls. Let's lock in. And put together the case of Leadhead and their inability to be a faithful partner. Here's where we started from. We started on video 1. Leadhead is a content creator, a Gonzo-style video essayist who does DoorDash, YouTube, and OnlyFans. They are the mother of an entire unit of a fiance, a male to female, and a female to male transgender unit. Children 19 and 20, and them at the time of this video, since that was a year back, 26-year-old, a mid-level 20-something, that is living in a unit with another person. And while living in that unit with that fiance, they get involved in a non-step sex fiend of this transgender polycule, allowing them to sexualize the children in their relationship. I've only been called mommy sexually. We went on a shopping trip and the adult kids got in the store. One of the children transitioned a month into being incorporated into the family structure and allegedly, which was then confirmed, as being sexual with them. Quote, "He wasn't just a friend, he was my boy. Ever since my teens, I had sexual thoughts and then they've always been a part of the forefront of my relationships in my mind, with these young men teaching me how to love as a mother. I thought we were just going to be friends with benefits. My fiance and I were in a open relationship, therefore it was on the table." They get involved with these children, and over the time of their relationship, which we then see how it was put at risk by their content, admitting that they cheated on their partner, we learned in the first video that they are an open, deceitful individual that would lie about themselves, lie about their friends, lie about their family, lie about their relationships, lie about the context of the relationships, and put all their shit on display for other people to talk about. And then it hit the timeline. All of us heard about it in real time. I heard about it, Horror heard about it, or rather, I heard about it through Horror. Then, Horror heard about it through herself, seeing it hitting the timeline, passed it on to people like myself, passed it on to people like Foggy.exe of the Op Block, and the entire audience of people started talking about the fact that why are they posting their L's publicly for everybody to talk about? To make fun of them as though they are a gay retard. Completely mad that everybody is reacting to the information that they published and made money for on the internet. To the point that they would try to unlist their content and write this ramble about people in their audience supposedly needing to ignore them, instead of talking about how
you haven't learned from the consequences you're talking about. They would go on to admit that they in fact cheated on their partner, came clean about it only because the cheating partner had to expose that they didn't tell them the honest truth, leading to them then deciding to open their relationship and then getting involved with this quintuple, sextuple technically, because there's been multiple mentions of multiple people, but a minimum of a four-way polycule of an open relationship, where the only reason the relationship stayed together was that the cheated on girlfriend, now fiance, made the requirement that they get the first hall pass to cheat. And then, only then, was Leadhead allowed to be hypersexual. Literally always lucky, never punished. It's just you, me, the woman I cheated on, her friend, and this random person all living together in our apartment complex. In this house that I purchased after our shit got rocked, or rather, before it got rocked, by St. Helene at the time that it made landfall in the US. We're a real family. It was then from that cheating, as they then talked about it, from the aftermath of Helene, that they adopted this 19 and 20-year-old boy and girl without making clear that they were transgender until just blatantly dropping it on you. Because how do you adopt grown adults? No, it's people that they were becoming friends with, that they effectively groomed into transgenderism. Whether they are truly trans because they have dysphoria, or they do it as a transgender trend, remains to be seen. But let's assume, in good faith, that that is not the case. We would then learn from them that they were getting involved in it this way. Leadhead would then exert themselves as needing to constantly insult the intelligence of their family members by deciding that they needed to be the mother figure that would teach you about how it's acceptable what they're doing is normalized, as was a bit of the content where they did so as a section of the first video of early impressions of motherhood. Something which we call back to since the ending of that video, from their own admission, on their outro, was that this was meant to be a literal and metaphorical example of how Leadhead was going to be a better mother than her mother ever was to them. Quote, and some of this is a paraphrase, "I wanted to keep a tradition of making everyone watch a movie of my choosing, but I had to stop the movie for my comfort, ... All I wanted was to have joy for them to be as committed to making everything work and function as I was, and then I finally understood my mother and understood that I wouldn't decide my family's collective happiness via mental health versus performative family time for my sake. Now I understood why so many women ended up on uppers and downers. Is motherhood only thankless sacrifices? I will never let myself become corrupted in the same way. With that fear thoroughly philosophized in my head so I no longer have to think about it. Well, is this what it's like to be a mother? Fine, but I'm not gonna like it. Maybe my mother did this because she only thought that she would never truly be happy, as it was a part of self-affirmation. I will be better than my mother, and I will ascend her, and I will become better than she ever was." We would then learn from the Helene video that this was just cope. They just wanted to be able to have them to themselves. They would try to insert themselves into the relationship with the biological parent of the female to male transitioner, and then be happy that they would cut the biological dad out of their life by proxy of trying to educate that biological parent about their supposed child. Being more angry and annoyed that they couldn't confront the bigot, in their own words, because he was absent and didn't want to have the conversation with them, implying that they should do things by their way and means, and if they don't, well, they're wrong. It would then be in video 4 that we would probably learn the most annoying bits alongside video 5, where 1, you would rather complain about the problems that you have with your home life and your blood family versus your proud family because you refuse to let yourself actually get to know them. Because you were so out of it that you had to make your sister drive you back across state lines because you were too depressed to care about it.
You would then tell us details that would get you the attention that you earned here, that you would then tell people, please stop telling me that people know that I sleep on a dog bed. When you would do things like admit that you sleep in a dog bed naked when you're overheated, admitting that actually you're too focused on how you were coping over the fact that you were cheated on your girlfriend, that you started playing Minecraft as a methodology to work through it so that you could ignore it. So taken out of it that you were too obsessed with how your video edit came out wrong because you were too focused on trying to tie it in to your viewpoints about yourself and your partner as much as you possibly could. How you would learn yourself, how you would lose yourself in Minecraft. You would then talk about how the reason you decided to be a puppy girl is because you're just not a puppy girl, you're a Therian. You just like the fact that you can be able to just pretend to not understand what's going on in life and put responsibility in somebody else's hands. At which then your partner has to remind you, I know that you're puppy-brained, but you still understand how to act right, aka still know right from wrong. You can retreat into the mental doghouse. You wanted to push this kink onto people as a justification to over-explain what the fuck you were involved in because you couldn't bring yourself to understand that you still have to be accountable for your actions. You then continue to do this in these last two videos. You think that everyone needs to perform and behave at your standards, on your time, on your words. No one is free of this from you. Your friends don't get to be free of it. Your partner doesn't get to be free of it. Your sexual partners don't get to be free of it. People who are no longer involved with you don't even get to be free with it. Because you'll put the fucking X's out there for content. You use your family, you use your friends, you use your audience, you use your attention. You are a goddamn narcissist. Top to bottom. Everything has an explanation, and none of them are, you need to work on yourself and then stop telling people about business we don't need to know. You intellectualize. You sensationalize. You editorialize. Because you, for a single second, Leadhead, can't be fucking real. Everything about you is performative. Everything about you is fake. And you want to be the intellectual that will actually stand there and sit there and say, well, these chuds don't understand what it is to be an adult. You should just ignore them. Let them have their fun. They don't get what we're doing here. But no, we understand. And that's why people took attention to it. That's why I take umbrage to it. That's why I took the time to go through the content and study and explain it and understand it. Because truthfully, to understand Leadhead, you have to actually read between the lines. Why tell us all these details? We know why. It's for money. All of it. Money. Every time. Money. Money. Delicious, delicious money. This is what it's all about. Oh, thank you, generous people who allow me to get away with grifting and cheating and lying and fucking and sucking. You make it possible for me to go out and have a happy ending. But don't ask any questions about the shit that I'm doing in my house with these children. No. My children, my adult children. No. Don't ask any questions about me and my adult children. Don't look into me. Don't look into what I do. If you look into what I do and you start asking questions about what I'm doing with this money, what I'm important about, what I care about, you're doing a hecking chudism. You're questioning me, and that means that you are cantankerous and you're evil, and you should be ignored and disgusted, and everything is so that you can have anything you want. Everything is permitted. Nothing is forbidden. Especially the princess wand. Anything you want, you can have it. Except, you can't. Leadhead. It's actually ironic the last video in your series is about love. Because you do not understand love. You certainly don't understand communicative love between people in a friendship. Let alone the emotional love of people in a monogamous relationship. Because your form of love is not love. It is uncontrollable horniness. From your own admittance. You truly have never felt like you can't be sexual with your friends. You fuck your friends. You kiss your friends. You literally kiss the homies goodnight. And then you ride to Lizzie. You don't know what it means to be loved because you don't really love yourself.
So every single bit of your performative action is to seek attention so that you feel safe. You're exactly the kind of person I was talking about earlier on video 1 and the section where we had to define it. You literally do not love. You don't know what love is, so you seek validation as a substitute. You replace true affection with carnal eros. You don't understand familial love, and you don't understand familial bonds comparative to friendship. Everything is sexual to you. So, you just sexualize yourself. You debase yourself. You can't appreciate your partner. You can't appreciate your friends. You don't appreciate your audience without the context of them giving you something. You don't give back to them in any true means. Your performance, the thing that you give, is empty. It's hollow. The sentiments, the raspy vocal fry of trying to be honest about how you talk about people, that is just you demonstrating that you don't understand a damn thing about other people, let alone yourself. You're gonna remain like this for the rest of your life until you actually learn to go to fucking therapy and learn to do the shadow work about your deep emotional set traumas and problems. And the first thing you need to do is you need to sit down with your mother and your father, and you need to tell them not only how you use them for content and clout, but you need to actually tell them about how you feel about them. Because you claim that you're trapped in a household full of people who have done nothing but sacrifice for you. Sacrifice for you, sacrifice for your partner, sacrifice for these children, and sacrifice for themselves having peace with you. Because they would rather let you talk shit about them. Because I don't believe that no one's told them that you do this. They have sacrificed everything for you to make them to make them be out to be the villains of your story. You don't even understand the meaning of your own story, man! That's how fucked you are! Take that, bad dragon, to the goddamn bank. Call it Maximum Carl. I'm done with this shit. Hallelujah! We're out, chat! Soy. Welcome, Avalon. You came in on the final part of a VsChat that we have been slaving away at to get to the final assumption. Because everything I just said, that's the max read. Any annoyance, any anger, any loudness, that is an expression of how tired I was listening and seeing Leadhead make excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse for their behavior. They do not like their girlfriend / fiance. They just are comfortable. And they want to remain comfortable. Remaining comfortable is the most important thing to them. Nothing else matters. So they will live in that quiet discontent of comfort as they slowly fall out of lust and love with the things that they do, with the need to increase that desire to prove that they're truly connected. So for those that really don't know if there's a happy ending to that story, that's the happy ending. They're going to suffer. And we won't get to see it. Or not see it. Who knows? Maybe they'll stop making videos where they post their content onto the internet and tell everybody about the personal life. Who knows? But hey, we're done with it. At this time, before I end, does anybody have any comments, questions, or concerns where they feel like they didn't understand something from any of the series, or somehow still need to get a presser because they came in late? Because this has probably been the most annoying one I've had to do this year thus far. This has probably been one of the more annoying VsChat series that I've had to do since the beginning of the program. Oh, stream died. F's, boys! F's! I went to zero out of nowhere.
should be back up on the Twitch output. Otherwise, it's still dying. That's so sad. Avalon just comes in and then it just fucking dies on it for some reason. That's not me closing it down, by the way. That is literally something fucking with the inspector. Very interesting. Very odd. Okay. Twitch chat is back, if only for a second. F's boys. So, we have finally made it to the end. Thanks to every single person who was with us along the way. Does anybody have any comments, questions, or concerns about the topic of the subject matter that we have been able to cover? What a train wreck? True, Alex. It was a fucking train wreck. I'd asked how do people live like this, but I know how they live like this. They live in fear, pain, and consumption. They gotta fill that God-shaped hole with something. And in Leadhead's case, it's Princess Dick. Princess Dick and high copious levels of replacement. Have they uploaded anything recent on their channel? Let's check.
You know, there are a lot of topics that I want to make videos about, but I'm too scared to. In my head, certain...
Let's see here. The most recent update from Leadhead. No videos. The most recent thing they ever posted was their forward-facing post. Let's check the Twitter, and let's check the Instagram, and let's check the Blue Sky. These tweets are protected. Linktree/Leadhead. Twitter alternate. Sensitive material. Leadhead but sus, which is specifically their not safe for work plus 18 side. I can't show you any of this. Nope. 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 Can't post it. All I can be able to tell you, chat, is click on that link at your risk. Click on that link in chat at your risk. I'm not responsible after you click it. I warned you. Their Instagram is gone. Let's see if they posted anything recently on their Patreon of recent update posts. They posted an update on March 1st about an overdue update about their next video. Before that, a locked session on December 27th, 2004 about Torment Session number 2 prologue. On their main channel, Leadhead. That is something that was posted about 2 months ago. On their side channel, Pork Brain, nothing's been posted for a year. And on the Blue Sky, I have to go find the Blue Sky manually. Over on Blue Sky, they've been tweeting up a storm. So over on their Blue Sky, the Meg of their family, everyone hates me for some reason. The more I try to offend them, the more I become a joke. Coping. This is something that I would write concerning something from a video game. The way that I've utterly destroyed any chance this man ever had at a good life with my gambling skills. Just about done with Igor, meaning that I got another hour and 20 minutes of the video finished. Constantly talking about the video. Keeping y'all posted. Man, YouTube Shorts are the most depressing thing ever. People just steal memes and put stock music over them, so there's two music tracks playing at once. blah, 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 complaining about the YouTube meta of YouTube Shorts, complaining about politics in a country that don't, in a state, rather, and Fed posting, vague posting, retweeting vague posts, retweets. Just saw Fight Club again for the first time in about a year or so. The moral of the story is that the MBs will drink about the end of capitalism. Franklin was a warning, not an instruction manual. Goddamn, wife and I just finished season 3 of Arrested Development. No idea what the rival seasons are going to be like, but fuck if this wasn't a perfect 3 seasons of television. Tweeting about the video. My idea really was working. I have to increase the viz with just some self-insert shots. So, attention seeking with with pictures and video posts of themselves, and just random complaining about shit. Basically, non-stop. So yeah, that's Leadhead. This is Leadhead. I wish I could pity this person, but I don't. I actually want the worst things to happen to them. Because maybe if they feel real problems, maybe if they have to really overcome trials and tribulations, they'll actually appreciate how fucking easy they've had it. Because the one thing that Leadhead has never done was really appreciate the people around them or in their lives that were there unconditionally for them. Because really, they never appreciated their mom. They never really appreciated their dad. They never really appreciated how easy they've had it. That they could be able to become a YouTuber that can rely on that and DoorDash and even OnlyFans if they actually do pay her any type of money. Because I'm not gonna look it up and find out. Fuck no. They don't appreciate how easy they really have it. That the worst thing that they can feel that they've been pressed by is that they have been pressed by people knowing about the shit that they wouldn't have known if they literally did not tell people that they were doing what they were doing. And then, of course, Cope posting on an entirely different platform because she's too much of a pussy to do it on Twitter. Also, for the people who want to have fun and want to take one for the team, I'm just gonna go ahead and hit you with that and have fun and find out. And if you want to look through any of their other links, you can find that shit here. Publicly posted online on their YouTube channel, as well as on their main Twitter channel. So nothing of real consequence has happened to them after the posting of all this shit. Well, the only thing that really happened to them of consequence is that they made a lot of us rich people. There are lots of content creators that, looking into Leadhead, learned about them and their behavior, and they were finally made to feel shame. They were finally felt to feel shame and punishment because the Chads were judging their life. So they became embarrassed. That's all they felt. Embarrassment. They're still going to make money. People are going to still support them because it's about politics. It's about supporting them. It's about uplifting them. I can tell you for certain that the way that I know that they'll not truly feel consequences is that you have to consider they're, at least at this point in time, at the time of us talking about this, earning $1,300 a month. They make piss poor video essays, and they are earning $1,300 from people who want to listen to postmodernist ad hoc video essays done in a gonzo style. But aren't actually done in a gonzo style because they do editing in the first place. So they're not truly gonzo. But hey, it is what it is. It is what it is, boys. It is what it is. Only look in the direction of Leadhead and laugh. And know and be appreciative that no matter how fucked up your life is, you are not Leadhead. And then consider how, no matter how fucked up your relationship is, you're not Leadhead's fiance. Where you had to accept that this person is never going to be loyal to you, that you could take solace in another person's arms, so that you could be able to deal with the fact that you will be taken care of, but you will never truly have a person who likes you for you. You are just a trophy wife on their pretty princess mantelpiece.
Truly, when you dance at the Pink Pony Club, you have to remember that you are just there as an ornament. And so, chat, I leave you to the wide open yonder of the world around us by leaving on the music of Leadhead's people. Remember, chat, life is what you make it. And certainly do not make your bed a fucking lice-ridden shithole that you have to sleep in because you cut people out and you act like everything is bad when you're actually the one who's at fault. Find your boyfriends, find your girlfriends, find your husband, find your wives, find your kids. Kiss them goodnight. Tell them that you love them. Call your parents. Tell your parents that you love them. Tell your friends. Hey, yo, homie. No homo. And kiss them goodnight. Remember, boys, don't let your dreams be dreams. Don't let your memes be memes. I'm Carl. This is my chat. This is VsChat. Remember to spay and neuter your pets and become a member of our neighborhood. Choose your denomination of the Carl that you believe in. Become a Carlist and fight for the rights of the one true Carl. I'm single player Carl. Don't ride the glizzy, but do stay busy. Good night, everybody! I will see you in the funny papers! And I will be billing each and every one of you for therapy! Especially you, Horror! And make sure, everybody, to say thank you, Horror. And thank you, Oplop, for the content. We truly do appreciate it. I'm out this bitch. But I'm gonna leave at the end of the song. Dance with me, chat. Dance with me, chat. Shake what your mother gave you. Bye, hoes. Goodbye, hoes.